Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson, and available wherever podcasts can be found. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, a little notify bell next to it to make sure you always get your new Going In Raw notifications. Of course, this is Matt Chat. This is the show where we go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Look at the patrons who are at $20 a month and up, those awesome patrons supporting Going In Raw, and we get them to send us some video questions that we can talk about right here on Matt Chat. It's a big, big week coming up for wrestling, man.
That it is.
AEW, NXT head-to-head, new SmackDown on Fox. Oh, boy. Impact of some sort is happening.
They're on
Axis,
Tuesdays now.
but it's on Axis. How many homes is Axis actually in?
More than the Pursuit channel.
Yeah, but by how much? Anyways, good stuff. Well, if New Japan got two and was getting 200,000, speculated.
NXT UK is on Thursdays now on the network.
Yeah, that's big
All
too.
sorts of shows shuffling around. There's wrestling every weekday for you if you so want to watch wrestling every weekday now.
Except for Tuesdays.
There's Impact
Oh,
on
that
Tuesdays.
Impact. That's right. Yeah, my goodness
But if you
gracious.
don't have access, you can't watch it. If you don't have access to access.
I don't have access to Axis.
I don't either.
Anyways, what do we got up first, man?
Patrick Sparks, B-Man.
All right, let's see what he has to say.
Hey, friendos, Pat here. All right, we're in for one big week of wrestling this week. Got the season premiere of Raw. We got NXT going live 2 hours finally, going head-to-head with AEW. And then Friday we have the return of Friday Night SmackDown, only this time on Fox. So, the question is, what's going to be the most shocking moment out of all of those? And what do you think will get people to pop the most? And who's going to steal the light? What do you guys think? And a little bonus question, who gets higher ratings? AEW or NXT? Thanks, friendos. Bye.
Thank you, B-Man.
Thank you, B-Man. All right, I'll go first. The most shocking moment of wrestling next week. So here's the thing. I missed it. Was he talking about the entire week?
The entire week.
Okay, we're not just saying Wednesdays. Okay.
No, the entire week. But I feel like Wednesday is probably because, like Monday, what's happening Monday?
Season premiere of Raw.
Yeah, but what Cedric? They just announced Cedric versus AJ. That's going to happen. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Cedric won. Wouldn't be surprised if AJ retained. Friday, everybody expects maybe the most. Carry on. Because we got Brock taking on Kofi.
You got to take a look at expectations. A title is going to change somewhere somehow.
If not multiple.
A title's going to change on. Let's see. NXT right now has 3 titles up for grabs: the tag titles, the men's title, and the women's title.
Mm-hmm.
There's no word right now on the North American title, but who knows? They could put that up too. I don't know.
Yeah. All the titles almost are on line in NXT.
Could be. So you have the prospect of Adam Cole dropping into Matt Riddle. I don't see that happening. The prospect of Shayna Baszler dropping to Candice LeRae. That's probably a bit more likely, even though they haven't built anything with Candice. And I think you're right. Lo Shirai is probably going to interfere in that one. And then you've got the tag titles. I don't really see that happening.
Redragon versus Street Profits.
Yeah. Over there on SmackDown, Kofi is probably going to lose to Brock. What would be even more shocking would be Kofi beating Brock cleanly on the debut episode. Oh, I didn't know you had that changed. I thought you would change that to the Matt Riddle, Adam Cole thing.
I have, but I've changed it to that.
Okay, well, that's my shoot answer is Kofi beating Brock.
All right. That's my answer, too. I did have Matt Riddle beating Adam Cole, because I thought that would be
you wrote that down, and I started writing my answers in, and then I changed it on the fly without knowing that you would change your answer.
I had just changed it, because when I thought of Kofi versus Brock, I said, no, I thought the most shocking thing would be Brock losing to Kofi clean. That would be absolutely the most shocking thing.
That's also the least likely of all these things to happen.
Yeah, that's why it's the most shocking.
Yeah.
Initially, I had Matt Riddle beating Adam Cole just because Adam Cole, he hasn't been champion that long. Undisputed just got all the gold. Yeah, that would have been second most shocking, maybe. Or Undisputed Era losing all the gold on the premiere. Yeah. The 2-hour premiere. That would be shocking. But no, if Kofi beats Brock clean on this first episode of SmackDown on Fox, that would be the most shocking.
That would be insanely shocking.
And I don't think anything comes close to that.
Maybe that's why he was so cavalier.
Maybe
on Raw or on SmackDown.
It's all predetermined. I know the result of the match that's happening next week.
He said, "Yeah, no, they told me that's a lock. They want something shocking, and me beating Brock is shocking. So I'm good. I'm good to go.
It's all good.
Until Vince changes his mind at the last minute.
Exactly.
Are you kidding? He's Brock.
Yeah, Brock. He makes all the money.
You're a B+ player.
And then Patrick asks, between AEW and NXT Week 1, who wins the ratings?
I say AEW.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think here's the thing. We haven't seen what AEW looks like. And I think people really want to see what it
There's
looks
going to be a
like.
curiosity factor.
Yeah.
NXT more or less looked the same. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
Like the cameras might have been a little different, but the presentation, apart from a modest graphic upgrade, more or less the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's
More
next?
or less the same thing.
Who's next? Who's next?
Next, Gatlin T.
This is the Firefly Funhouse's newest puppet, Gatlin T. And I've been thinking a lot about this Wednesday Night War thing, kind of. But I've been looking at it from a different angle, which is what company is going to be the ECW version now? Could it be Ring of Honor? Could it be New Japan? Could it be Impact? And think about how ECW happened and where it went and how it ended. Thank you guys. Too sweet and hearty handshake.
Thank you, Gatlin T.
Thank you, Gatlin T.
Well, first of all, I'll preface with this. I don't know if the wrestling landscape is such that a company could come in and be like an ECW. I think if any company could have, if the expectations weren't already sky high, it probably would be All Elite. Because they're the new company, they're the insurgent trying to make headway with their own unique vision of what wrestling is and can be.
I guess we need to define the parameters of what ECW and who is the new ECW. What would that mean? ECW was a company where it was sort of the cool company. I mean, WWF was cool at the time, but they were like,
No,
like
WWF,
you said, upstarts.
WWF wasn't cool in 1995, 1996 when ECW really started.
I meant during the Attitude Era. I meant during the Attitude Era.
When WWF started ripping off ECW, becoming cool.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So essentially, let's say this: what company in 3 to 5 years will WWE be ripping off to make a better product?
Well, they're already ripping off New Japan. They try to take anybody they can from New Japan. They've been doing that for a little while. And that's my answer is firmly New Japan, because they do really cool stuff. WWF is always trying to steal their guys away. They are on a channel which gets. I mean, here's the big difference. Obviously, is that New Japan is not going to go out of business. ECW seemingly was always on the verge of going out of business. Wrestlers weren't getting paid. Paul Heyman ended up owing a bunch of people money. But in terms of, the perception out there for the fans, New Japan is cool, and ECW, simply put, was cool. And that's what people gravitated towards. When I saw ECW for the first time, I saw wrestling that I didn't know was possible. Rob Van Dam and Sabu doing their thing. It's New Japan.
I feel like New Japan's already very familiar with a lot of wrestling fans here in the States. Not that my answer isn't, but I don't know that as far as that newness factor. That's what I mean. I don't know if there's anything, unless like CZW gets like a TV deal or something outrageous like that.
Sure.
And then people's like, oh, deathmatch wrestling, hooray!
Well, no, you bring up a good point. Because this landscape today is vastly different. Like if ECW was a thing that just started up today, it wouldn't be on TV. They wouldn't have, TV wouldn't be the thing.
Well, not only that is that, thanks to internet, YouTube, is so much easier to get. Like in 97, 98, when I first heard about ECW, I couldn't watch it. It wasn't available here. It wasn't on YouTube. There was no YouTube. Nowadays, like any wrestling you're curious about in the least, you can go and find it somewhere online. You can watch it.
I think maybe the best answer here would be, now that I think about it, would probably be MLW. Let's say, because MLW for a while now has sort of been under the radar. They do really good stuff, but plenty of people know what they are, but not as many people have really had experience with them as like New Japan or Impact even. If MLW, how ECW, they would just strike, something really cool would happen there. If MLW does something like this really cool and everybody started paying attention.
With Loki, Shiv, and Conan.
If that doesn't do it, I don't know what would.
Yeah, exactly. My answer is lame, and a lot of things got to happen, I think, to make it happen. I'm going to go with Impact. They got the roster for it. I don't know if they have the creative minds behind it. They definitely don't have the branding behind it, because
who's producing their TV now?
That's part of the thing, though, because Kevin Sullivan was very good at a very particular brand of production. It's very slick, but he could do the handheld thing, like the stuff between LAX and what's her name escaped me, the other faction they were feuding with when someone got ran over.
Oh, the OGs.
OGs, thank you. But if Impact can buy Ring of Honor, start using their name. Now that the entire production staff is gone, find a way to rebrand visually their product to make it different than anything else that's going on out there. Maybe bring back the fly on the wall stuff because that was really cool. Kevin Sullivan was very good, but in terms of how the TV show itself was produced, it looked good, but it didn't look too far different than anything else that was on wrestling TV. Take this as an opportunity to, I don't know about reinvent the wheel, but try something different. Find a visual language that's different for wrestling. While ECW didn't necessarily do that in terms of how they photographed the matches, they definitely did in terms of how they handled the promos at the end of the show every time, where it was like the lighting situation was usually garbage. It was just someone there holding a camera. Very often it was out back of the ECW arena with a single spot, probably on camera, that was mounted there. And Heyman would direct people. Mm-hmm. That was it. Mm-hmm. Just find a unique visual language for your product. That'll give you a heads up on the competition. They got the roster. They got the quality of matches going on there. They take chances.
Their creative is decent.
Their creative can be decent if it's more consistent and starts getting eyeballs on it. Now they're actually on a station that apparently a lot of people have access to. Not us, but a lot of people do. You got the makings there potentially of something really good. However, they got to start treating some of their talent better. They got to start having at least balls of water to shoot.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
They got to actually start letting Killer Cross make money.
Yeah, that'd be good.
There's some public relations issues they got to deal with.
Yeah.
Including the name of the company.
Yeah.
That needs to be got rid of.
Oh, you think they should get rid of Impact?
Yeah. That's a huge dark cloud hanging over the company. Just the fact that it's
I don't know, man.
It's a relic of a time that's...
Okay, let me ask you this then. So let's say they rebrand to, give them a name.
Shit, I
don't know wrestling. Okay, perfect.
Light Profanity Wrestling.
Light Profanity Wrestling. LPW, okay. LPW, brand new day. We get new graphic. Things look cool. And then 3 months down the line, I don't know, they do something crappy to another. They do something else crappy to Killer Cross. Or there's another wrestler who has an even more egregious issue with them. The branding of the name ain't going to matter. People were totally on board with Impact as long as they were good to their wrestlers, put on good matches, put on good shows, and did good things. They were good with
Impact to a degree. I mean, it still didn't boost their ratings. It still didn't give them a TV deal that was put their product in front of people.
For a spell, when they were interesting, it boosted their ratings, and you can only do so much with a short-term boost. But they were able to build some buzz.
What they would need to do is a complete repackage of the entire product. I understand one public relations disaster would be like, well, Impact's going to be Impact. But if you give the whole thing a fresh coat of paint, you put that world title on Sami Callihan, you emphasize him, what he does well, which is crazy banana stuff, make that the focus of the company. And then as long as you do right by your talents and do put forth an interesting product, week by week, month by month, you could put that old Impact behind you.
You think they'd know that? Just do right by your talent.
I know, that's the first and foremost.
That's
do
all
right
you
by your
gotta
talent.
do. I gotta do.
Do right by your talent. Next, we got a question from Christopher Rampersaw. Take it away, Christopher.
Hello, Steven Larson. So my question is, after AEW and NXT go head-to-head live, who do you think will end up with more hype at the end of the night? Like, who do you think will win overall?
Thank you, Christopher. I sort of stole that first answer from you, so you go first
fine.
here.
I think heading into this week, AEW is probably going to have more hype. But I think after the first episode, I'm looking at the cards of each show. Mm-hmm. NXT's got every title on the line. You know they're going to do something to get some buzz going. They got to do something. They will. I'm not saying they'll do something solely reactionary. It'll be something that falls in place in terms of the story that they're telling, but they're going to do something to get some buzz going for themselves. And that doesn't really mean something shocking like put the belt on Matt Riddle.
Well, whatever they do with Ciampa when he returns, because I think that's supposed to be that episode.
Yeah, something huge is going to happen in this episode of NXT. I'm looking at the card for the first episode of AEW. There's some good matches. You got Cody, Sammy Guevara. You got Hangman Page and Pac. You got Riho versus Nyla Rose, determined the first women's champion. You got the six-man tag match, which will be the main event, Jericho Mystery Partners versus the Elite. I would assume that Jericho's Mystery Partners are probably going to be LAX.
Probably.
Because I haven't heard or I don't know of any other team that could be brought in that could be that huge shocking moment, a huge revelation that it seems like something like this would warrant.
Hey.
Yeah, which I'm kind of surprised they had LAX come out at
Me too.
All Out rather
I know.
than the TV show, because
Me
that would have been
too.
huge. That would have been a buzzworthy
Makes me
moment.
so sad they didn't call them the Dead Presidents.
I know.
That's a great name.
It is. That is a good time. Or a good time, good name. So I don't think anybody, and also I think the bar right now is so high for AEW that if they don't deliver a perfect show, people are going to be like, well, they did this wrong. Mm-hmm. They did this wrong. They could have done this better. Why didn't they save LAX for this instead of having debut it All Out? And NXT is like playing with house money right now.
Yeah.
Like as long as they put on a really good show and something buzzworthy happens, in terms of the optics of it, I feel like there's a pretty good chance NXT is going to come out ahead in terms of what people are going to be talking about the next day. That's just what my gut's telling me.
It's funny, man. WWE's talent pool is just so deep. It's way too deep. It's like they can just throw Walter versus Kushida at you and not even blink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Like they were able to toss Cardiff at All Out and walk away with the weekend. You know, like everybody was talking about Walter versus Tyler Bate. They could just do that. It's insane. I think I mentioned this earlier. We don't really know what AEW TV is going to look like, and I think that's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be the newness factor. It's going to be like, okay, well, this is regardless of whether it's going to be good or bad, people are going to be talking about it. They obviously don't want them to be talking bad about it. So I'm sure it'll look slick. I'm sure it'll look good. I mean, it's going to look like Impact just did, and Impact looked great.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think they'll be fine. But I don't know. Yeah, I think if NXT pulls a big surprise at it, it can't just be like a great match. It has to be like something crazy happening that'll get people. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people thought that maybe it will just be a good match. A lot of people thought. I mean, everybody figured Walter versus Tyler Bate was going to be a good match. They didn't think it was going to be that good.
If Adam
though.
Cole, Matt Riddle can do a Walter Tyler Bate type thing, that's going to get people talking.
That's going to get people talking.
And I'm sure all the matches on All Elite are going to be good, and some of them could be that good. But I'm just telling you, I feel like the expectations for All Elite are so astronomically high.
On paper, there's nothing that All Elite has for their first episode that can match up to Riddle versus Cole. They don't. Cody and Guevara is going to be good. Hangman versus Pac is going to be good.
Yeah, that's a chance. That's an opportunity to be really good.
The six man's going to be
Opportunity
really good.
to be really good.
Nothing's going to beat Cole Riddle potentially. I mean, there's even the potential for Candice LeRae versus Shayna. Candice is so good. She's so good. So I don't know, man. Anyways,
God,
could you imagine? Like, not taking anything away from Shayna because I think she's terrific. But if they had put that title on Io Shirai, and had her and Candice,
like in a last woman standing match.
Are you kidding me?
They would tore the house down, man.
That would take the night. That
Yeah.
would totally take the night. They just have they're so stacked.
I know.
They're except for the tag division. Every division is stacked there. I mean, that's one thing AEW has, the tag division.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they don't have just like a straight up tag match that's like featuring the Young Bucks and like, LAX or
Yeah, I know.
Lucha
Or LAX
Bros.
versus Lucha
Could you imagine,
Brothers.
could you imagine like a ladder match with LAX, Young Bucks, and Lucha Bros to kick off that first episode? That could have been killer.
That'd be something else.
They'll do good though.
Yeah, both shows will be great. Next, got a question from Jacksonville's
Number one.
Guion Halili.
Hey there, friendos. This is Jacksonville's number one Matt Chatter, Guion Halili, back with another Matt Chat question. This week I want to know, which wrestler or character, I don't know, can switch between face and heel and do it so organically? Where people, when they're a heel, people hate them, and when they're a face, people love them. I think Daniel Bryan is on that list now. I don't know, he's just a great character in general. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Can't wait for SmackDown on Fox. Too sweet, hearty handshake. Later, guys.
Thank you, Guion.
Thank you, Guion.
Go ahead.
All right. You wrote down a list of a bunch of names that are probably pretty good here. I'm going to go with Zack Sabre Jr. I find him much more boring as a face, but he can be totally over as a face.
Yeah.
Like, people still love him as a face. And when he's a heel, man, it's hard to think of many people who are better than him as a heel. He's a nightmare. I still find him vastly enjoyable when he's a face, heel, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think he's really good. He can switch between two. I mean, when you took the route that he did and depending on what show you're on any given night, you have to be either one or the other. I think that probably helps a lot in terms of learning how to switch it on or off or whatever. So I'm just going to go with Zack Sabre Jr. You have a good list here, though.
I have on here Brock Lesnar, and I know there's people are kind of tired of him being around. It just takes him like 2 or 3 weeks of doing really cool stuff and him not being a jerk, and people will get behind him.
Yeah, sure.
If he goes out there and is destructive, does cool stuff, because people at the end of the day just want to see wrestlers do cool things. And Heyman is not talking trash. He can get over as a face quickly. I mean, Guillaume's answer, Daniel Bryan, that's 100% right.
That was my first thing. But
as soon as you started asking that question, my first thought, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So he's great at switching between characters. But as we've seen, even heel Daniel Bryan, people still really want to love him. And they'll still get behind him regardless.
In the same vein as Lesnar, Braun Strowman, Braun's heel run after he won Money in the Bank was awful. That being said, I feel like it's not that hard for him to switch between being a face and heel. Likewise, Drew McIntyre, we saw him as super over, super face in NXT, and he was awesome. He showed up on main roster as a super heel, equally awesome.
You know, I actually think might be number one in terms of people who don't want to get behind him when he's a bad guy and would love to get behind him when he's a good guy. Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
He's really good as a heel, as like a legit heel.
Yeah.
And then he's really good as a regular face too.
Drew Gulak. There was a short little time when he was having his dealings with Enzo where he was kind of flirting with face territory. And if he would have won the title at that point, the crowd, what was still left over from SmackDown, would have popped huge.
Yeah.
He's just, I think especially the last 3 names I have on here, what really gives him the capability to be effortlessly switch from heel to face is that they're just good, well-defined characters.
Sure, yeah.
Although Drew Gulak just evolves and can change up his character on a moment's notice and be great. Lastly, we haven't necessarily seen him as a face yet, but I feel like in like 2 years when he makes that face move, it's going to do wonders for him.
I'll give him like 6 months, man.
Baron Corbin.
The crowd is starting to get big.
Yeah.
Especially this past week, every week it's something different. This week when he came out in that Game of Thrones inspired gear,
good, man.
People were like, "Oh, that's good."
Baron Corbin. I think when he'll have a face turn, I feel like, kind of like what Daniel Bryan's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just kind of happen over the course of a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And he'll just be less of a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to keep the certain elements of Baron that make him Baron.
Oh, of course.
He's got to be full of himself. He's got to be somewhat delusional. He's got to be a bit of a buffoon.
Yeah.
Those things have to stick around.
He can't be catering to the crowd.
No.
Yeah.
But you just make him slightly less of a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Make him win matches clean and not cheat.
Yeah.
And if you keep the essence of the character the same, the crowd will get behind him.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Next from Cult of False Realities.
What's good, Stephen Larson and all the friendos out there? Cult of False Realities here, back with another Matt Chat question. In my new lovely apartment, yes, I cannot stop stressing about it enough, but back to my Matt Chat question. So we always talk about what male competitors we want to see fight each other for new matchups. My question is, what female talent could we see face each other having for maybe a 5-star match in WWE? You know, we always talk about all these guys matching up, Adam Cole and such, Daniel Bryan and such. But what about Ember Moon and Naomi, Nikki Cross and Sarah Logan, Sonya and Ronda, different stuff like that? What 5 matches could you come up with that could be just amazing, star-studded?
Thank you, Cult of False Realities.
Thank you,
that
Cult of
snazzy
False
new
Realities.
apartment of his.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome thing, man. Anyways.
Okay, there's a list I have. Io Shirai versus Asuka.
Good.
Give me that match.
Yeah.
Gosh, I want to see that.
match now.
Candice LeRae versus
I want
Asuka.
to see that match now.
Asuka versus Kairi Sane.
I want to see that match now.
Charlotte versus Io Shirai.
I want to see that match now.
Battle of the Moonsaults.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally, Becky Lynch versus Candice.
I'm going to bring this one up. Asuka versus Nikki Cross on main roster.
The last woman standing match.
I want to see
You
that.
still haven't seen the one in NXT, have you?
Nope. I need to cobble together matches I still haven't seen that I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Give me Candice LeRae versus Ember Moon.
That'd be great.
I want to see that one. And then Io Shirai versus Lo Shirai. Got to see that match there happen with the little Groucho Marx glasses.
Yeah. That's probably something that's going to be reserved for WWE 2K20, Steve.
Nice. We booked that match. All right, next up, Anthony, the Canadian guy.
Has a question from unnamed friendo.
Hi, Anthony the Canadian guy, and I'm here with my Matt Chat question. I'm at the Edmonton Expo, and I found some friendos, and he's got a question here for you. Ask away.
Hey, Stephen Larson, why do you think it is that winning the TNA World Championship means, unless you're AJ Styles, you'll never win an actual WWE Championship?
Good question.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, friendo.
Thank you, Mystery Friendo.
Go ahead, Steve.
I kind of think, look, man, let's be frank. The title scene is rarefied air.
Yeah.
The only people I think legitimately who could win the WWE title is, and we've seen win programs. We've seen Samoa Joe in a program with AJ Styles where he easily could have won that. I probably should have won the title. I think everybody would love to have seen that. And then, Bob Roode won the NXT championship, which is kind of a big deal. And then for whatever reason, Vince decided to make him smiley, happy guy, which is like the exact opposite of what he should be. So he just got buried by character.
He got buried by his
misinterpretation.
He got buried by his song.
Yeah, basically. So I think I totally think it's possible. I just think, if you look at the list of people who have actually won the title, Jinder Mahal is a weird situation. That's odd. Probably should have been somebody else at that time. But, AJ Styles, we got Kofi Kingston now. Who's before AJ? It was Jinder, and then...
It was AJ beat Jinder for it.
Yeah.
And then Jinder beat... Gosh, am I drawing a blank?
I don't know. But, you had Roman and Brock fighting over it for a while before the Universal title was really a thing. You get over on Raw with the Universal Championship. You had Finn, Seth, Kevin Owens, Goldberg. It's like...
Oh, Jinder beat Orton for it.
Orton, exactly. So I don't know. It's kind of rare to do that in the first place, and there's only so many people from TNA really that could. You'd obviously want to do a lot more with EC3, but do you ever see EC3 as like a WWE title guy?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. Eric Young, not really.
You got to talk Drew McIntyre. He's a former TNA champion.
Yeah, he could easily be Universal Champion, easily. Or
I
WWE
think it just comes down to Vince's whims. If Vince sees you in a particular role,
do you think Vince knows that Drew McIntyre was an Impact champion? I don't think he knows that.
Probably not.
I think he knows that about Rude and Samoa Joe.
Probably works to Drew's favor.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know how much the perception is within the company, or at least in Vince's mind, that he doesn't want to elevate someone that he didn't make in his own company. I think that's kind of a thing of the past to a certain degree, and I would hope that the success that AJ Styles has had within the company and what he's managed to do to seemingly impress Vince has extinguished that thought from Vince's mind. Because when you hear from AJ, when he signed with WWE, it wasn't like Vince saw championship aspirations with AJ Styles. It was just AJ was so damn impressive.
I have no idea the context of the quote because I didn't watch it. But Sean Ross Sapp just posted an interview with Samoa Joe, or Samoa Joe. The headline is, Vince didn't want me in WWE. I don't really think that has anything to do with his time. I don't even know. I'm legitimately curious how much Vince actually cared about TNA. Like, when Hogan showed up and they were going to go head-to-head, do you think Vince thought about it more than a moment? They didn't do anything to, counter-program, did they?
No.
I don't think they stepped up their game.
No,
it wasn't just another.
The only thing there was you just don't say TNA on TV. That was it.
Yeah, but that's just a long-standing policy of never acknowledging your
exactly.
competitors.
And I guess you could say an extension of that is talents, which I hope is the thing of the past. Talents who made it huge in these other promotions. We saw it with some of the WCW guys.
No, so back when it was WCW, that was way different. When you hear that guys when they come over. Even Booker T won. He was in a high-profile spot in the WWE. Vince really seemed to like Booker T quite a bit.
Not enough for him to beat Triple H, though.
No, but that's just Triple H's shenanigans, I think. Scott Steiner, he came in post-WCW, and they probably would have done a lot more with him had he been healthy.
Goldberg, they probably would have done more if Goldberg actually wanted to be there. He really didn't.
Yeah. I know there are other examples.
There's examples, and that's what I'd read that
Jericho was like a champion there many times over.
Sting had said that one of the reasons, I guess, either it was from an interview or secondhand, that one of the reasons he didn't want to go to WWE is because he didn't like how some of the WCW guys were treated when they went over there after WCW went out of business.
Yeah, I know, but I kind of wonder if that's like, because he was like a big Christian at the time, wasn't he? Like, was that when he was going through his thing? I mean, you look at what Vince is doing. I wonder if that was more like, I'm not really sure I want to be part of that culture.
That's entirely possible.
Or the culture of creative they had over there.
Entirely possible. Yeah, who knows? Anyways, it's all up to Vince's whims, I feel like. If Vince sees you in a particular role, that's the role you're going to be, unless by some chance or something, you impress him to such an extent, you get the crowd behind you to such an extent that that his hand is essentially forced. That's kind of what happened with AJ, is Vince put him in a program with Roman early on. He brought out some awesome matches with Roman Reigns. He probably had, at that point, the best matches Roman had. And I'm sure that opened Vince's eyes. This guy's got a hell of a lot of talent. We can do a lot with him. And that's probably
Plus, Heyman was a big fan of AJ, and Heyman was around at the time. He probably got in Vince's ear. Who knows?
And I'm sure that's what really kickstarted AJ's push up to being a world title. But, he was brought in. Vince just says, I want you to be my pit bull.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So if Vince sees money in you as champion, he'll put the belt on you.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, he probably won't.
Next, Joshua the Dynamic Knight Martinez. I'm just going to say Josh Martinez from now on.
Yeah, text question time.
Oh, text question. With David Benoit, of course, Chris Benoit's son, wanting to be a part of a wrestling company, where should he go? And should they stay away from the Benoit name? How does that company, most likely AEW, according to Joshua, how would they handle it? I'll go first.
All right.
No, I went first last time. You go first.
Okay. No, I feel like it's got to be AEW. For no other reason than they have a lot of people there who probably knew his dad.
Sure, of course.
You got Arn.
Yeah,
you got the Horseman. It's entirely possible.
Dustin.
Maybe even Cody.
Probably, yeah, for sure. Jericho was like his best friend.
Yeah. In that sense, it would make a ton of sense. It just feels like a situation where you can't run away from all, what his dad did. You got to confront it. More than anything else, you got to give David an opportunity to make a name for himself, to separate himself from the family name. I don't think you lose the Benoit name; you keep it. But based on his performance, his connection with the crowd, give him an opportunity. We said this on the previous thing that he should not be punished for the sins of his father.
Nope.
If he wants to pursue a career in pro wrestling and he has something that he can genuinely offer any of these companies, it would be a serious bummer if he was denied that opportunity just simply because of his last name.
Here's the thing. The dude looks a lot like Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
And so merely changing his name ain't going to do nothing. You know who he is. If you put him under a mask, you know who he is. My suggestion would be this. Eventually he would land in AEW, but before that, because there's another aspect to it, and that is if he hasn't proven himself in the ring, that he's ring worthy, that he's ring ready, then a lot of people are going to be like, oh, which could result in people thinking that it's exploitative.
Yeah, it can backfire huge.
Oh, they're just bringing him in
because of his name.
Because of his name, and they're going to try to make a redemption story out of it. My suggestion would be this. Go to New Japan as a young lion, because that is truly working your way up from the bottom through the ranks. I mean, if he's good enough to get into the Young Lion program, rather, then join New Japan as a young lion, because then you're paying your dues publicly. You're learning from the best, so everybody knows. Okay, well, if he gets through this, he's going to be legit. On top of that, New Japan, granted, they obviously have a heavier U.S. presence now than they did 5 years ago, but there is still you get little bits and pieces of them, because it's not like Young Lions have all that much exposure. You get little bits and pieces of them. You hear here and there, oh wow, yeah, he's really good. He's carrying on his dad's legacy. And then when he's gone through that and he spent a little bit of time in New Japan, and granted, if you go in the Young Lions program, I don't know how long they actually sign you for.
3 years or something like that.
3 years,
3-year
and
program,
then who knows how long they have rights to you after that. I don't know. And so when he spent some time doing all that stuff, I mean, I honestly don't know what the perception of that would be to the New Japan crowd. I don't know what they think
I don't
about
know
that
either.
stuff.
I don't know either.
So if all that goes well, then, AEW would definitely be the place to be because of everything you just said. But if he pays his dues first, going through all that, I think that's probably the best way to go if he wants to be a part of it. A lot of people ask, well, is there a way to honor the career of Chris Benoit without separating the man from what he did in his career? And I can't think of a better way than to accept his son on the basis of what David could do.
Yeah. Not what his dad did.
Exactly. And so yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I think there's totally a legitimate path there. And then if he's able to establish himself as a big enough name in AEW, if it's possible, then WWE might be open to bring him into NXT. That would be kind of a curiosity, though, because obviously that's the company where he was, and when all that stuff happened, because that would force WWE to do something they probably don't want to do, and that's acknowledge his dad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There might be a limit to how far up he can get in terms of, having a WrestleMania moment, for example.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I suspect, though.
Yeah.
Next up, the Howdly Doodly Champ has a question, but this time it comes from Dan of Dragon Worms of Djibouti. He says, if you were stuck in Saturday detention in high school with wrestlers you hate,
like the Breakfast Club, yes.
A la the Breakfast Club, who would you bond with and why? First of all, let's clarify. I don't hate
anybody.
Any wrestlers. Hate's a strong word.
Yes.
However,
there's wrestlers you're not a fan of.
There's wrestlers that I'm like, I see in the TV, I'm like, I don't need to see this guy. Matt Taven.
Yeah.
Yoshihashi.
Yeah.
Taguchi. I'll be honest. John Morrison, I wish he'd freshen up that gimmick of his.
Yes, obviously.
I think he's a terrific in-ring competitor. But, man, he got to freshen up that gimmick.
Yeah.
And then I've got, of course, Juice Robinson. I'm going to throw Heavy Machinery in there as well. Who do you got?
What about Dolph? You can keep Dolph in there?
No, I like Dolph.
All right. Zack Ryder. Never really been into his work.
Oh, he seems like such a nice guy, though.
Oh, he does seem like a nice guy. Michael Elgin.
I don't know.
Lars Sullivan.
Oh, yeah.
David Finlay.
Oh, I like David Finlay.
I don't mind him. I don't know. It doesn't really got into his work.
Yeah, okay.
And then Matt Taven, of course. And then, the second part of that is who would you bond with and why? I'd probably bond with Zack Ryder. He seemed like a decent dude.
I could see you and Ryder hanging out. Sure. Yeah.
We've met his fiance. Chelsea Green. She's tons of fun.
Oh, she's fantastic. I'm going to say the guy that I would probably end up bonding with is probably Juice. You know who's a big Juice fan?
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. And I think Kevin Owens and I would get along swimmingly. So if he gets along with Juice, I think I'd get along with Juice.
All right.
So probably Juice Robinson. He's probably less annoying when he's not a wrestler.
Oh, probably. Luis Ariza, it's our final text question. Hey, Stephen Larson, so you're getting 2 questions for the price of 1. My first question comes by way of Blake Elizondo from the Friendoverse and is, you come across a genie that'll grant you one wrestling-related wish. What is each of your wishes, and explain how the other's wish would go terribly wrong.
Oh, no.
Second question comes from basically everybody else in the Friendoverse. Oh, God. And a lot of your 5-year anniversary. Congrats, by the way. I'd like to revisit an old topic to see if your views have changed. So that being said,
pre-cum, yay or nay?
Let's get this out of the way.
Let's do that one. Come on, man.
Let's get that out of the way.
Can I get a yay for pre-cum?
It's above a yay or nay question. It's a biological necessity.
So it's a yay from you. Can you just say yay now? Just say yay. Just say yay if you think it's a necessity.
My position on it is well known. I just restated it, and that's all I'm going to say about
Something that is a necessity is a yay. So just
it's
say.
It's above opinion.
Yay.
It's above opinion.
Well, okay.
It's a necessity.
Is 2 + 2 4?
That's a fact. Yes.
Yes. So if you're saying pre-cum is a necessity, it's a fact. Just say yes.
My position is well known on it.
Oh my God, you're so irritating. All right, man. I'm always a yay because it's a fact. Going back to the other question, one wrestling-related wish, mine would be that Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit got the help they needed, and they didn't die, and in one case, take people with him. That's mine. How would that go wrong now, Larson? That's part of the question.
I don't know. I mean, if they get the help they needed and lived healthy, fulfilling lives.
This is an easy answer.
And brought tons of joy and happiness to people, what?
This is an easy answer. How that can go wrong?
Well,
butterfly effect, man. We don't know how that would affect you and I.
Yeah, I
this
guess not.
business of ours. I don't know how that
it
would
could
work.
be even more popular than it is now, thanks to the immense charisma of Eddie Guerrero
Could
and
go
the incredible
down to
wrestling ability of Chris
maybe
Benoit.
something we said about Benoit or Guerrero and their circumstances, we didn't know. Maybe that led us to the promised land where we are today. Maybe.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Kind of wish WCW hadn't started really sucking hard and went out of business. Imagine through the entirety of the aughts, there was another company running opposite WWE that was successful and had a TV deal. That'd been pretty neat.
Yeah. On the other hand, I'll tell you how that can go wrong.
I can go wrong a million different ways.
Yeah. What if WCW ended up buying WWF, and then they started going really bad?
That could have been bad.
And it just all fell apart, and pro wrestling would not exist today. And we wouldn't be in this job.
Be working at Target.
Exactly. That sounds miserable. Unless you like working at Target, in which case it's good for you.
I mean, I like coffee. Maybe making coffee for people's fun. I don't know.
I see a lot of Target employees just roaming around Target. They don't really seem to be doing much. They just sort of roam around. Sometimes they have some shirts with them.
Hey, you never worked retail. So part of the...
I'm sorry, I didn't.
When did you work retail? Oh, Kinko's?
Well, no, man. Before that, my high school job, I worked at Sears in an engraving shop.
Yeah, you were engraving things, though.
I sold all sorts of stuff.
Fine.
It was like a thing. What do you mean fine? I totally did.
Did you have to stack do stocking?
Yes!
All
I had to do stocking, inventory, all that stuff.
I stand corrected.
Oh, my. You think a guy knows you. Wow. And I had to stock paper at Kinko's, too. I admit that's less retail. But, yeah, I had to do all that stuff. You can't get out of here with that.
Anyways, a lot of working retail is acting like you're doing something where you're doing nothing.
I know what retail is, and I know I did that for a long time because at one point at Sears, they were going through a big construction overhaul thing of the floor that I was on. My store, my kiosk, whatever it's called, was buried like way in the back. You had to go down these weird hallways that really seemed like they were for employees only. I would sit back there for hours with literally no customers. I'm like,
and weren't you getting high school credit for that?
Oh, it was great. I got to not take 2 periods. What? You're going to give me crap for taking advantage of an opportunity? Are you serious right now? Oh my goodness. You know what? You go straight to hell. Anyways, thanks everybody for sending your Matt Chat questions. We appreciate it. If you want to get involved in Matt Chat, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/Stephen Larson, put down $20, and boom, you get your Matt Chat questions on the air. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Didn't work retail.
I'm looking at a job description for being a YouTube content creator.
Oh, no. What is that?